Well, it's that time once again when we go out to the other coast of the United States of America and check in with Michael Snyder to see what's happening with the movies. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Alex, and hey, everybody. I do the job because other people don't want to. I go to see movies, no matter how good or bad, and try to tell you whether they're worth your time, and I've done it again. And this week, boy, we have a real mixed bag. I had to face one of those tough choices that reviewers face when the only time they're going to screen one movie, they're screening another movie, and you got to make a choice. So, you know, The Nun, which is the latest spin-off and prequel to the paranormal investigative horror franchise that started with The Conjuring, was being shown the same time they were screening Peppermint, which, despite its candy conjuring title, is a violent action movie from the same director who gave us the rockin' good Liam Neeson flick Taken. I checked the trailers. I considered whether or not I wanted to spend an hour and 36 minutes in a dark, dank, remote Romanian convent with the Sisters of Perpetual Fear as they dealt with a ghostly, ghastly, demonic nun, or 1 hour and 42 minutes watching Jennifer Garner take on murderous drug traffickers in L.A., you know, with like the bullets and the bodies flying. And, you know, the decision was easier than you might think. Peppermint is indeed the work of director Pierre Morel, whose Taken was crucial to turning middle-aged Liam Neeson into a genuine big-screen action hero. But rather than Taken's black op element, the sex slavery ring, the international locales, and the whole idea of a father trying to rescue his daughter, Peppermint is a full-on revenge fantasy triggered when a suburban housewife and mother named Riley has to watch as her husband and daughter are gunned down by drug-dealing thugs. And instead of the surprise of the usually tweety and stately Neeson joining the ranks of shoot first, ask questions later, the hero or heroine in this case of Peppermint is Jennifer Garner, who still knows her way around a pistol or an AK-47. I mean, this is years after making her first big splash as the deadly chameleon-like super spy on the espionage-themed TV series Alias. So, you know, we've been waiting for her to come back to this kind of role. At least I was. So finally, after detours in rom-coms and dramas, Jen is buff and back and kicking ass. Essentially, Riley's life is nearly destroyed, and she decides to exact revenge on those who've done her wrong, going bonkers when she's denied justice by the LA court system. I mean, she goes to ground and eventually arises in unrelenting vigilante mode to face off against swarms of killers, even as the cops and the FBI try to stop her bloody crusade. Unfortunately, the actual way things play out in the movie is so outrageous that it becomes hard to take seriously. The script is ludicrous, as are the depictions of the criminals, the police, and the mom herself. But it's so much fun to watch Garner go full tilt against the bad guys. And Morel is good enough at action set pieces that I enjoyed Peppermint, which from all I'm hearing would not have been the case with The Nun, by the way. Ho, ho. The title Peppermint is kind of gratuitous. It's a reference in a movie filled with eye-rolling moments like, get this, a Skid Row mural immortalizing Murder Mom. I mean, is Peppermint a good movie? No. But it's a bargain matinee or cable diversion for those who want to see Garner versus those who done her wrong, or for those who miss Alias, which had its own share of ridiculous moments. Moving on to something a little more on the serious side, and that doesn't necessarily make it that much better. The Apparition is a provocative drama wherein a French journalist, played by Vincent Landon, is sent by the Vatican to investigate a young girl in a rural village. This kid is claiming to be visited by the Virgin Mary, and all hell, pardon the expression, has broken loose over her proclamation. It brings pilgrims and sufferers and merchandisers to the area, while certain members of the clergy want to use the quote-unquote miracle to spread the gospel, if you will, and bring more attention and acclaim to the church. Jacques, the journalist, starts poking around, gets to know Anna, the novitiate, who says she had the visitation, and he uncovers some surprising details that change the entire nature of the story. The movie's too long, it's too scattered, and surprisingly dull considering how mystical and challenging the subject matter is. But The apparition has value in its performances and in the questions it asks about faith, devotion, and the divine. Landon is as solid as he always is, and the young actress Galatea Bellucci is appropriately enigmatic as Anna. Written and directed by Javier Giannoli, it's one of those movies that I wish had more of an impact and more resonance. We'll wrap up with a couple of documentaries. The first one is Bisbee 17. A little more than 100 years ago, something really screwed up happened in the copper mining town of Bisbee, Arizona, near the U.S.-Mexico border. With what appears to have been the urging of the copper company that basically ran the boom town, sheriffs and deputies rounded up roughly 1,200 immigrant miners who were striking for better pay and, of course, better working situations, loaded these people into cattle cars and sent them to the middle of the New Mexico desert, leaving them there to rot. This was known as the Bisbee deportation and became this near-forgotten shame of the city, a really ugly part of town history. And in some cases, deporters and deportees were family or friends. So on the day of the centennial, locals are staging an interactive recreation of the deportation for the cameras as well, dramatizing stuff from historical records, even though accounts differ, while also kind of addressing the modern troubles that the town's facing in the wake of the copper industry basically bailing. There are segments dedicated to the recreations. There's music, there are interviews, discussions of unions, environmental issues, and more. This plods a little, and director Robert Greene is kind of known for sort of setting things up in his documentaries. But it's a pretty fascinating story, and if this sounds interesting to you, this is a pretty cool way to spend almost 2 hours. It's called Bisbee 17, and I give it a tentative recommendation. Finally, if you're a fan of Hal Ashby, the director, the documentary Hal is sort of a tribute to him, sort of a Valentine to him. In the 70s, he directed such classic films as Harold and Maude, The Last Detail, Shampoo, Coming Home. He did Being There, the wonderful adaptation of the Jerzy Kosinski novel starring Peter Sellers. He made some very cool films, and using like letters and archival material, interviews, and various recordings, this movie paints a portrait of Hal Ashby. Because I loved his movies, I was fascinated by the movie itself. This documentary by Amy Scott was worthwhile to me and to most film lovers, I would expect. What are you watching, buddy?
Nothing.
Nada?
Nothing. Nothing to watch. You know, but tell them where they can find you.
Okay, I'm at Twitter at Culture Blaster. You can check out my little notes and quotes there, and on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, where you can revisit Alex and myself.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. And that's it. We'll see Michael again next week. But in the meantime, if you're listening to us 24/7, there's more GABNet coming right up.